I'm going to move on, and can everybody see my slide moving on? Okay, so I'd like to start to bring us all together and doing a Brain Smart Start. And so Brain Smart Starts, there are really kind of 4 ways to connect with your audience or with your students, your classroom, virtually or otherwise. And so that's, the first one is unity, to unite us all, that we're all coming together and doing a common thing, which we're all in this together, and this works here as well. To connect, and connection usually has 4 things. It's eye contact, presence, which we're going to be present this way, touch, which we are not allowed to do anymore, and a playful situation. So hopefully we'll at least hit on those. And to disengage stress. So I don't know what your morning's been like. Crystal and I had a nice conversation about our mornings, and I think to bring us all together, trying to disengage stress, which is incorporated into the Brain Smart Start, is a great way to start. So before we get going, we're going to do this. And yes, I have to pull up Facebook to do it, because that's how Conscious Discipline's doing it.
Good morning, Conscious Discipline friends and family. Thank you for joining us again today for the Brain Smart Start. My name is Amanda Bagwell, and I'm a Conscious Discipline certified instructor coming to you today from Franklin, Tennessee. So hi, y'all. All right, let's get started.
Is the sound okay before I continue?
We do have it is a little hard to hear.
Okay.
By uniting our hearts around a common idea. And I don't know about you, but inspirational quotes just get me going. I love to read things that inspire me and set my heart and mind in the right place. So I'm going to offer us a quote again today to just reflect upon and choose to see how we might apply it to our life. So St. Teresa of Calcutta, or as many people know her, Mother Teresa, said that if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. So we're all finding ourselves at home right now with our family, for most of us. But what might be missing is that ingredient of love, because when we're together in such a combined space for such a long period of time, it's inevitable that things won't go our way, that there will be behaviors and attitudes that are a little less than desirable, and we're not feeling the love. But in Conscious Discipline, the power of love offers us this idea that love isn't about a feeling at all. Love is about choosing to see the best. So instead of seeing defiant, disrespectful, or disruptive behavior, I can choose to see that that person in front of me is just missing some skills. This time in our world right now is hard for all of us. So especially the younger ones in our homes who don't already have a fully developed set of emotional regulation skills or executive functioning skills. This might be hard to navigate. So I'm inviting you today to offer the power of love that says I choose to see the best. Instead of seeing these behaviors in the negative way that I might be tempted to see them, I'm going to see them as a call for help. I'm going to see them in a way that allows me to choose to see the best in that person. And so if you're willing to unite your heart to the power of love today, I invite you to repeat after me. I choose to see.
I choose to see
in you.
The best in you.
And you is whoever you're talking to. It could be yourself in the mirror, or it could be that other person in front of you. All right, so now we're going to disengage the stress. So we're going to just do what we did last week with our affirmation breath. We're going to take a deep breath in, and I'm going to say, I choose to see. And then we're going to let that breath out, and I will say, the best in others. So here we go. Deep breath in. I choose to see.
I choose to see.
Out. The best in others. Again, deep breath in. I choose to see.
I choose to see.
And let it out.
The best in others.
One more time. I choose to see.
I choose to see.
And let it out. The best in others.
The best in others.
So for a connection activity today, I offer you this opportunity to connect with all of those of us who are going to do this, and also with those in your home or who you might reach out to via FaceTime or social media in some way, to offer the power of love to someone else, choosing to see the best in them. So it might be in the moment of upset that you're able to pause and remember this and choose to focus on the missing skills. Or it might be through a word of encouragement that you offer to someone through a note or through just a positive word that you speak to them. So choose to connect with someone in your world today. And by doing that, you're connecting with all of us who are also going to do that same thing. So
Okay, I'm gonna close that out there. So I don't know about you, but on many of my Zoom calls, I've had some of my coworkers come in and interrupt. So I've been interviewing a lot of staff for new staff lately, and I was on an interview and I'm taking notes and I'm reading the next question to the candidate, and I look up and I have bunny ears behind me. And so for me, choosing to see it as a missing skill and love her, that she wants some time with me, and that's how I'm choosing to see it. So I'm sharing with you all today that I'm here with you, and we're gonna focus on some love and good wishes. Okay, so what we're going to do, and I kind of went through this, but we're going to talk about the 5 components of developmental relationships and share some online tools that you can utilize during this time, or when we come back and are all present in one another's lives again. That was a little bit of conscious discipline because I can't forget social emotional learning throughout what we're doing in the practice, virtually or otherwise. Some different online tools that I've utilized with my after school programs so far. Google Classroom, if you have access to it, and some ideas for that. And then summer school and virtual. I don't know about you, but we are going to be doing virtual summer school, and so some thoughts on there before we end. So to tell you about developmental relationships, I have just a short 2 minutes from the Search Institute, and I actually went to Minnesota a couple years ago to participate in their training in order to lead this training for you. And so I think they say it really well. So we're gonna, and the sound will be better on this one.
Pretty much everybody who works with kids or interacts with them knows that relationships matter incredibly for how they develop, they perform in school, where they end up in the future. But that doesn't mean you know how to build a great relationship with a young person who you work with or that you just care about. At Search Institute, we are 4 years into a major project of research to try and open that black box of transformative relationships in kids' lives and really figure out what happens in relationships that help kids be and become their best selves. What we've discovered is that there are 5 critical elements of a developmental relationship. The first of those elements is kind of obvious. It's expressing care. And the key idea there is letting kids know that they matter to you.
Be dependable. Listen. Believe in me. Be warm. Encourage.
The second element of a developmental relationship is challenging growth. And that means pushing kids to continually get better, no matter how well they're already doing.
Expect my best. Threat. Hold me accountable.
The third element is providing support, and that means helping kids complete tasks and achieve their goals.
Navigate. Empower. Advocate. Set boundaries.
The fourth element is sharing power, and that's about treating kids with respect and giving them a say.
Respect me.
Include you.
Collaborate. Let me lead.
And the fifth element is expanding possibilities, which means connecting kids with people and places that broaden their worlds.
Broaden horizons. Inspire. Connect.
We know from our studies that when kids experience relationships that are characterized by these 5 elements, they're much more likely to possess key social emotional skills like motivation and a sense of belonging, empathy, and much less likely to engage in risk behaviors. Whether you're working with kids in your job or raising them at home or just interacting with them in your community, we know that if you express care, challenge growth, provide support, share power, and expand possibility, you'll be doing tremendous things to help those kids be and become their best selves. If you'd like to know more about developmental relationships, click the links in the description below and subscribe to our YouTube channel for continuing updates from Search Institute. Pretty much every
I particularly liked the little boy who couldn't say boundaries. I thought that was very sweet. So, so this framework, so these 5 elements, and I encourage you over this, the next few slides to really think about our role in after school programming and your program, your staff, yourself, and also to reflect on this time virtually and how we're connecting with colleagues, how we're connecting with youth, how we celebrated Mother's Day, but to really be thinking about some of these elements in your own life. So the 5 elements which they went through: growth, provide support, expand possibilities, share power, and express care. So what they really are, and if you think about this as the definition of what we do for 21st Century Community Learning Center grants, it's having close connections through which young people discover who they are, and that's what we try to do with them, and learn for them to have that sense of identity, to gain abilities to shape their own world. And I think about the partners and opportunities that we put into their lives, and learn how to interact with and contribute to the world around them. And that really, while that's what developmental relations are, that's what we do. And so what they are, and I'm gonna kind of connect the U for Youth as well in here. So I've been participating on a lot of the 3-part series with You for Youth over this time, and I did intentional activity design last week, and while that's what we do and we know about, this was a whole nother level, and the tools that they had were remarkable. And so as I was participating in that, it really was resonating with so many other things that we do. And in their intentional activity design, they talk about these are what we're doing, connecting to the 4 C's within 21st century learning skills, and the 5 C's in positive youth development, and that fits right in here. So developmental relationships are identity, are having they'll increase a youth's ability to know who they are and sense of self, creating agency and that sense of mastery, that they have accomplished something and learned a new skill and mastered it. And then that sense of community and looking out. And right now we're really focused on in our homes and how to protect ourselves and stay safe. And are we focused on our community as well? So the first one, expressing care, that's so much about us and the people in our line of work. We certainly don't do it for the money. So it's about caring. And this is a quote from a youth in an after school program. I feel like he's more like family, because when I have issues in school or at home, he gives me advice. I can trust him with what I say. So show me that I matter to you. So this element, be somebody that they can trust, pay attention to when they are with you, and really pay attention when we're together, to show them that they're valued, to be warm. I mean, our kids can tell when we're faking it. And so, so to show them that you enjoy being with them, and then praise them. And one element in brain research is that we focus on what we focus on, we get more of, and to be intentional in our praise as well. So instead of just saying, good job, but really be attentive to what we're praising. So if my daughter comes in and she's like, look at this new drawing that I did of my bunny. And I might say, I really love how you made the ears stand up, and you did such a great job with the shading over here, as opposed to just saying, oh, you did a great job, that's a great bunny. But being more intentional in our praise for them. The next one, challenging growth. This quote from a public school student: the teachers that motivate me to do my best let me know it's okay to make mistakes. And mistakes are just opportunities to learn. And so are we doing that and pushing them to be better? So for this element, expect them to live up to their potential, push them to go farther, insist that they take responsibility for their actions, and help me learn from my mistakes and setbacks. Especially now, we are all in this. We are all doing online like we've never done before, and helping our kids, and our kids helping our parents learn how to do it. And so I look at challenging growth as a way for me as well. My daughter's challenging me to grow, and hopefully I'm doing the same with her, and holding her accountable if she wants to play hooky that day, that we're not going to play hooky. There's online lessons to do. And so I'm hoping to do this right now at home. So providing support, we're all really good in after school, I think, in doing so. So this quote from a youth, they help you feel more comfortable doing the things that are expected. So when we come back together, there's going to be a lot of challenges and how to get them back into the mindset for after school and get them back into school. And so providing support is going to be extremely important when we help build their confidence back up again in order for them to take charge of their lives, guiding them through the hard situations, which we're all doing right now. And I'm going to share a couple tools to help you do that as well. Stand up for them when they need it, and put in place limits to help them keep on track. So whether that's, we set boundaries with what we can and cannot do, what you may and may not do. And I've seen some wonderful presentations and things from different teachers right now about Google Meets. You may and you may not, and showing virtual or showing pictures on what that looks like. You may raise your hand with the emoticon. You may not, blurt out and show me your dog. So really those are important little elements right now as well. And the fourth one, to share power. And when there's a survey you can take that I'll show you in a minute. Sharing power isn't something that I tend to always do. So this is a youth in a leadership camp. At first, the staff were there to get us going and show us how to do stuff. And then they stepped back and let us take over. And this week on Youth for Youth, they're doing project-based learning, and really with the youth in control. They have a guide to help you with guiding questions and the process to do that. But we in Burlington, we use MindWorks a lot, and that's project-based learning, but it's all kind of there for you, and it's really more teacher-led. So as opposed to the guide on the side. And I think this is what this is talking about, is more where we're not standing in front, but we're more letting the kids guide, and we're there to help them. So treat them with respect and give me a say. So listen to them and take them seriously and treat them fairly. Involve them in the decisions that we're making, and not just by having a youth advisory council, but having that classroom have voice in what you're doing in your activities. Collaborate with them in solving problems. A lot of what we're doing online and virtually, and then we may continue to do in the fall, it's really adult-led, and we're kind of saying, oh, let's do this Kahoot, let's do this Google Classroom, here's a project to do. Are we thinking about how to ask them to have input on our time together? So I challenge you on that. And then creating opportunities for them to act and lead. How can we do that in a virtual world? Are we even thinking about letting the student lead in something? And the very last one, to expand possibilities. And I think with 21st Century Community Learning Center grants and our role at After School, we do this one very well with the number of partners that we all have. That helps broaden our after school students' worlds. So the staff helped me discover new things that I used to not like, such as schoolwork and after school programs. And now apparently they do. So we expand their possibilities of what they think being in school for 12 hours is like. So inspire them to see new possibilities for their future. And we all try to bring in that college and career readiness. And Youth for Youth does a great presentation on that for elementary, middle, and high school. And so connecting what we're doing with different careers and different futures for our kids, and bringing in those experts and those partners to talk to our kids about it, exposing them to new ideas and experiences, having Blank Part Zoo come in, doing the virtual zoos now that we can do, but trying to expand their horizons, virtually or otherwise, and then connection, introducing them to people to help them grow. So how they interact, and this, like most things where we talk about high touch, low touch, it's the same thing with how the elements react and interact with each other. So if we think about that continuum of offering challenge to them and then care, and then we might have situations where we're more high challenge and high care, and some that are low challenge and low care. And I think I challenge all of us to think about this as we're planning our programming virtually, is where are we in this continuum? Where do we stand right now, and where could we be? So to show you some research, and so you see on the on this, I'll use my mouse, on this bottom right, that would be when you participate in the survey, or for a child who has kind of all 5 elements to no elements. And so if we look at that and how they're linked to statistically significant higher levels. So the more of the components, and can you hear someone mowing their lawn out front? So that'll be a challenge. Okay, so the more of the 5 elements, the more that they have, their responsibility increases, their ability to make positive their decision-making skills, social emotional skills, and express caring. Conversely, the fewer of the elements that a youth has in their life, we have attempted suicide rates going higher. 30-day use of alcohol is higher. 30-day use of tobacco is higher. And then youth experiencing developmental relationships, they do differently depending on who's in their life. And when we think about who's in the life of our children right now, whether it be the parenting adults and their siblings, and so little friends and teachers, but in a different way, and then us who maybe aren't running any programming at all right now. So when we think about the 5 elements here, and then how they're each perceived differently, parenting adults for expressing care, and then their friends rank really high. And then providing support in here. So as you could see, our friends, how our students react to that, but then our program leaders down in here. So just, it's very interesting to think about each of these 5 elements and where we might fall, and what youth are saying about us and ranking us. So the weakest relationship in the youth surveyed is with teachers. So that's considering all 5 elements, and where students are ranking, or youth are ranking. So so that's a challenge. I think of it as a challenge. How can I improve myself in these developmental type relationships? So there's a wrap, and I could do it for you and make you all laugh today. So expressing care should not be rare. Express care everywhere. Express care, don't get an au pair. Make an oath to challenge growth. Challenge growth all the way to the Hippocratic Oath. Challenge growth, you stupid oaf. Provide support when I come up short. Provide support, help them build a fort. Provide support, especially in traffic court. Provide support, even all they do is play that new game Night Fort. I think it should be Fortnite. Provide support so they don't turn out to be like Voldemort. Get down from your tower and share your power. Share power and make mine our. Share power until it's happy hour. Expand their possibilities by showing them opportunities. Expand possibilities to increase their capabilities. Expand possibilities and give them responsibilities. Expand possibilities unless it leads to liabilities. I hope you appreciated that. I was definitely on to. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you. Okay, so when I revisited my summer and said, well, I guess my spring, and said, well, what am I doing and how am I going to do this? I took this quiz. And so I welcome you. Here's the link. It's right up here, the relationship check. And so you can take this quiz and get results and see, how am I doing? And I encourage you to take this now, take this later in the fall, but because it'll change. And right now, when I took this, I was surprised on where I stood on certain things. And my express care wasn't what it usually is. Definitely sharing power was very weak right now. And so I encourage you to take this, and then you can go back and look. And what I really love is that they didn't just say, all right, take this quiz, but they're really talking about us right now in this pandemic and in the world that we're in. And so after you take the quiz and you get your results, they will show you, whoops, oh, sugar, sorry. They will show you different activities and how this relates to our world right now. So they had activities, so how to approach to build relationships during the corona virus crisis. And so each of the elements, so each of the 5 elements have a response here on what to do. And then there's an activity that you can do virtually with youth. And so I highly recommend going there and doing that because this was just really influential for me, and I thought important to share. So for each of the 5 elements, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. There's an activity to do. So, oops, sorry about that. So there's an interview to do with the youth for expressing care. There's a letter for your future self or time capsule. I think many of us have seen the COVID-19 time capsule. I did that with my daughter, and it's now in our safe. But writing a letter to your future self. Shared power. So how we're doing our virtual life. So are we asking our kids to help us set what our group norms will be, or during our time together, during our Zoom calls? Are we all saying, okay, how are we going to run this Zoom call? Or is just one person taking the lead and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do? Wishing each other well, doing visual routines with them, providing support, highs and lows, and check-ins, maybe at the beginning of your time together, at the end of your time together, and expanding possibilities. So this really relates into when we do sparks, or when we're talking about steps or career. And there's a lot of these also with you for youth, and so many that you can kind of continue your education in any one of these steps. Okay, so, oh, yep, we have questions. Yes, now's a good time to stop. Thank you.
So I have a question in the chat box, and then I also, the link to the survey, if you wouldn't mind sharing that with me either through email or dropping it in the chat box yourself, if you have a moment.
Yes,
I'll share that out with everybody so that is available to you. And then Stephanie would like to know if you're willing to share these documents with the group, as they are awesome.
Thank you. Well, I will read through my Search Institute document and see what I'm allowed to share. I may not be allowed to share the actual slide set because I had to go and get training in order to lead these trainings, but they have a lot of resources on Search Institute that you can download. But of course, I'm free, and so I'm happy to present to anybody that you want me to. Now let me find my chat box here.
Okay, while Cassie is doing that, I would encourage anybody, if you have a question, drop it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask at this point.
Oops. Might not let me until let's see if I can do this.
Okay.
Okay, there is the link for the survey. And then when you pull up the link, this is what it looks like. So you'll just click what you want through it, next, and then once it submits it, then it will send you back your results and then give you all those wonderful tools.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So Cassie, we have, nobody's mentioned anything.
Okay.
And all we have in the chat box is simply a thank you at this point. So
All right,
please.
I'll take it. So, so talking about social emotional learning, you know, I'm sure, like all of you, there's 1,000 different things on Facebook to look at. And my husband always says, I found this out. And I'm like, where did you hear that? And he always says Facebook. So don't, you know, I think he sent me links for masks, all from Facebook. And I said, honey, I'm not buying any of the masks that I see on Facebook. So, but I want to bring up that there also are very good tools on Facebook. And so the repair and rapture. So our relationships with our kids, with our students, it's all ebbing and flowing, you know, and by the time we come back, and that's 5 weeks of not being in person with some of our kiddos, if we don't do any physical summer things with them. So it's important to remember our the social emotional part of what we do. And so I really liked this one a lot and thought this might be a really great article for any of you. So many of us feel emotionally worn down by the stressors of COVID. You know, that uncertainty. Oh, are we coming? Are we not? Is this opening this week? Is it not? What is the rule? I can't remember if this one's at 50% or this one's at 25%, or if I have to do social distancing here. So we may facilitate between optimism and pessimism, contentedness and grumpiness, faith and fear. And these feelings often show us as greater irritation, less patience, and increased conflicts and power struggles with our loved ones. But there's some good news to be found in all of this. And that good stress pushes us to think differently. And I, for one, have definitely thought differently. And it ebbs and flows, but I'm grateful for the time with my daughter. I'm grateful for learning in these new ways I'm learning. I would never have participated in so many Youth for Youth webinars as now I had the time for. So I'm trying to continually refocus and reframe and not get too down on ourselves in this time. So I definitely recommend some of the conscious discipline things that they've put out on their website and on their Facebook page. They also developed a lot of tools which I have used. If you're not a Facebook friend of mine and you want to be my friend, you can find me on Facebook. But my daughter and I have discussed and read some of the books. They wrote a book about Schubert and Sophie in staying at home. I've changed my whole second bedroom up here to be all those things that I practice in my classroom, but now at home, because I found myself needing that. And then what's also really nice is that whenever I Zoom with colleagues, they're like, oh, are you at work? And I'm like, no, this is actually in my guest room. And so sending out well wishes, doing a kindness tree here, and doing that with my kids, how I need to connect and what I need to change. My daughter's really good at helping me recognize my emotions. Yesterday, I was dealing with whether I go to Orlando in June for conscious discipline because I was selected as a helper. And I had to make the decision, and she's like, you need frustration today. And I said, no, I think I need anxious today. And so we welcomed anxious and we spent some time with that. But, you know, what conscious discipline has done, they have some absolutely fantastic, tools and activities and resources all created for the COVID-19 crisis and virtual. So I encourage you to go there and visit some of the materials. And of course, my anxious, I wish that he had some PPE, but he doesn't. So, but if I take my feeling buddies out into public, I'll make sure to give them some kind of personal protection equipment. So here they are. Well wish boards are great, and when I could do that with my students, and I also can do it with my family. So just wishing well to my family and my daughter. We've done lots of family Zoom calls and played Yahtzee together as a family, and I've done that with my students in after school as well, and that just helps them know I'm thinking about them. So other activities that we've done. So I've done Kahoot. So I created a Google Classroom for my after school program kids, high school and elementary. And so they have, I found Kahoot. And so this was really fun. So I made my own Kahoot quiz on getting to know Mrs. Gerst. And then they had to take the quiz on their own. And then we came back together and were able to share some of this. And this is what it looked like. So I got to make my own questions. I got to put my own pictures in, and it was a really fun thing to do. And they said that they enjoyed it as well. Then I've used flippity.net, and this, you download the template. And I downloaded this one. And then once you download the template, you fill in, and I think I'll show you next on this next slide. So this is what it looks like. So you have the categories, and they have, the 100 points. So it's kind of like Jeopardy, but you can make all of your own. You can make it about after school. You could make it about a subject that you're learning. You can make it about a project that you did with the kids, your school, your whatever it is. And then you have where it goes down. So then the bold is the name, and then there's your question and your answer, and then this is what it looked like. So I made one, and then I did a Google Meet with all my kids in the after school program, and we did this together. And so I shared my screen so that they could see this, and then they did teams. I put them into teams, and then we'd call on the team leader, and they'd say Legos for 200, and then we would do it together. So it was really, really a lot of fun, and they enjoyed it. This is my one of my Google classrooms for my program. So some people use Zoom, some use Google Meet, but I was able to kind of invite all my kids into there. I can do assignments with my after school kids and say, okay, we're meeting every Wednesday at 3:30, and so I'll see you then. Or I could post little hellos, and my kiddos are able to respond to me too. He wanted to know when he was going to be able to talk to me. And so this is really great because you can invite adults. I have some Google Classrooms just with some of my staff, and then you could see how many people have joined. I posted my Kahoot and my Flippity both in my Google Classroom. I can do Brain Smart Starts with my students in here, and I can use Zoom or Google Meet depending on what it is. And because it's private communication with just the people in the classroom, or they can email me privately, or they can make a comment privately to me, they don't have to do it with everybody. And and this was important. So my daughter does not like her doing anything camera wise with students in her class, and she doesn't like to Zoom with them because she feels like she doesn't want them to see her, that they'll roll their eyes when they actually see her. And so having the option to communicate privately with the staff or with teachers is so important. It's just is great. And that's more inclusive for all of our kids and how they're feeling. And if we're able to connect with them on a platform that the kids know and are using right now. So I set up 3 different Google Classrooms, one for my mentoring program, and then some for my staff, just so I could communicate with them as well. So you invite the people, and my piece is one, and then my after school one. Look at me with all these little things. So you can set up your classroom easy in the classrooms. So I set it up, I named it, then I can invite people. And then in the left part there with the most recent arrow, I can see what there is to do, if anybody's posted anything, what assignments, and it comes up on your calendar too. So if you've not seen what Google Classroom looks like because you're not part of the school district, this is what it looks like. And this is what our kids are seeing, and it's great. Billy, you want to talk a little bit more about this? No? Okay.
I just had some questions that I'm giving Crystal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cassie, are we at a good point where you'd like to pause for questions, or would you like to go through a couple more slides?
No, go right ahead.
Okay, so we do have a question. Billy is wondering a little bit more about conscious discipline and whether it's a part of social emotional training. And I did reply that it is, but I thought if she had a specific question, maybe she could unmute herself. And those of you who are implementing conscious discipline might be able to give her a little bit more insight, if that's okay. So Billy, if you have a specific question about conscious discipline, why don't you go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask that now, please.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure if I had a special specific question. I was just wondering how social and emotional and conscious discipline merges one, or are they two different separate programs?
Great question. So conscious discipline it's an approach. It isn't a curriculum. It is focused on brain development. And so it's a multidisciplinary approach to how we work with students. So how we see youth. And it can be good for parents, for teachers, for anybody that works with kids. And so it's based on brain research and how we understand where a child is coming to us, and that it gives adults, it's very adult centered, where it gives us and talks about these 7 powers that we have in order to not see behavior as a negative thing, but as an opportunity that they're missing a skill. And this is our opportunity to help them solve that missing skill and get some practice in it. And so there's different structures and rituals like the wish well and the kindness tree. There's things that you can incorporate, but it's much more of an approach and it is social emotional, it's trauma informed, it works with PBIS. But it's really this mind shift, and it's transformational in nature.
Okay. And is the training for conscious discipline, is that intense?
It can be, yes. I find that the more I learn about something and the more I engage myself in learning something, then I get more out of it. And I really liked the transformational approach, and so I spend a lot of time educating myself and taking more classes and online classes and going to different trainings, because that's important to me, and I found value in using it. But it's all dependent. I mean, you could spend 4 days or read the book and then be like, okay, I learned something. So it really is just dependent on how you feel about it.
So it's more of what you put into it rather than what a PD gives for you. You do research on your own, basically.
Well, no, that's a whole, you know what, because I don't want to take everybody's time. How about, Billy, I will follow up with you and I will tell you and give you all the helpful hints and how I do it.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Cassie.
So Cassie, I did actually want to have you maybe make a statement, if you can, about how developmental relationships maybe aligns with conscious discipline and SEL and all things else that maybe come into play, since we're talking about that. And then we do have an additional question about, are you able to take attendance when you're doing these types of online programs? And do the students already have computers?
Okay, great question. So yes, I'm able to take attendance. when I'm on there. And our district, we were really fortunate. We had enough Chromebooks. So what we did was we had a 2-day period where we distributed Chromebooks to everybody, any kid that needed them. So 87% of our enrollment, so we have 3,600 students, have a school Chromebook, and kind of that other percentage had a computer at home, so didn't check out a Chromebook. So we are one-to-one technology now at home. So our students do have Chromebooks. And then we expanded our Wi-Fi networks in the district. So we have a local company, a very large organization who does antennas, and Weingard expanded the Wi-Fi range on all of our buildings, and then also built Wi-Fi in some of our low-income housing units in various areas. And so that's helped our community out tremendously. So but yeah, I could take attendance, and when I'm on any of my calls, I see who pops up, and you can see everybody that's there and see when they've responded and when they're active. So and then how developmental relationships tie into social emotional is the whole framework here. Let's see if I'll taking you to it. Okay, so when we think about social emotional, right? So and conscious discipline, but when we think about what is involved with growing a child's identity, a sense of self, sense of mastery, to be able to handle their emotions, to recognize emotions, all of this is how we form and why we want to form a developmental relationship with a child. And so when we're challenging growth, that's, providing opportunities for our kids. It's providing caring and modeling those things that we want to see out of them. So when we think about what developmental relations are, and then you think about social emotional learning, right? I'm showing them empathy and caring and growth and how to handle themselves. This is all what developmental relationships are. So they're showing people and helping them discover who they are. We're to how to shape their own lives and giving them that power and that self-confidence to do so, and those social emotional skills in order to interact with others and the community and contribute around them. So they're very much aligned. Did that answer the question? Now
I think so.
Now I'm going to make you all dizzy as I'm sharing my screen and making all my slides go fast. All right. Almost there. Okay. So, very funny. So I had to share this. So that teacher in there, sorry about the language, don't know about math. She makes me want to drink. Stop it, Carol, Mama's trying. And sometimes we feel that way right now. And it's thankfully mine's in 6th grade and we're doing fractions and I can do that. But the 10 square math, I know that she thought this way about me. So I want to leave you with this. So make every effort to change things you do not like. And if you cannot make a change, change the way you have been thinking. You might find a new solution. And during this time, I think we've all been doing that. And so I just wanted to leave you with that. Now I'm open to any questions that I didn't answer that anybody might have.
Okay, so we do have a comment in the chat box. This is from Christine up in Storm Lake. she says that they were informed by the leader of their Micronesian population that even if they are having the worst day of their life, they will say everything is good. How do we deal with this? Because it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's those t-shirts, right? I'm fine, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Culturally, I won't have an answer for you. I don't work with them, but culturally, I think that's when we have to consider and learn more about them and their behaviors so that you can understand how they express themselves or what's important to them, and still look at those elements, but look at them in a way that relates to them, right? Because even individually, we're all different, and we all will receive care and receive love differently. I mean, there's that 5 love languages, right? So everybody kind of receives that differently and expresses themselves differently. So I would think culturally as well, that we have to think about that, about understanding their culture so that we can understand how we might express these elements and have a relationship with them. I see that comment about domestic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, we've, they don't. I've been posting a lot of conscious discipline things, and expressing my own challenges with my daughter, trying to help parents to understand, hey, I get it. I have a daughter with 5 mental health disorders who expresses herself through violence. And so, we can't always reach everybody, and we're not going to be able to. And I think that's the burden, right? That we face, that we want to help our kids, and we realize where they're at, and if they're home, and if they don't have internet, or they don't have a way to connect what's happening, and they don't have those resources. And all we can do is do the best we can and try to give them resources. If they're going to the schools to pick up meals, do we have a counselor that they know that's there at the school? Are we trying our best in order to get in front of them? And that's hard. We've also heard where child abuse, domestic violence is down because there's no one to, like teachers or after school staff, to see what's happening and to report it. So it's a very scary thing, and something that we all just try to do the best we can. But there's a lot of resources. I know our Community Action of Southeast Iowa has been sending out great resources, and so I've been trying to send those out to schools. Our teachers are posting certain things in their Google Classroom. So a school might say, can you please send this out to all of your students? And so then there'll be kind of a resource list in a student's Google Classroom, and lots of those things get sent out to the parents as well on recaps. And so that's one thing we're doing. I don't know if anybody else has a good comment about that.
Feel free to jump on or make a comment in the chat box if you have ideas about those types of resources. And while we're thinking of that, does anybody else have any other thoughts or questions before we wrap up for the day?
I'll say while they're thinking that I hope that you found this valuable. I wanted to provide you with some research, but also things that would help you during this time of virtual living, and some different thoughts, and then some reflection time as well with the survey, and then reflecting on where you are right now. So it helped me, and so I hope it helps you. Okay.
So we have no other questions in the chat box, and at this point, I think what we will do is let's give we have a thank you. Yeah, let's give Cassie a nice round of applause, and you can do that one of two ways. You can do exactly what Virginia is doing now on camera, or you can go down to the reaction button at the bottom, and it looks like hands clapping, and I put that up on my screen. So please feel free to thank her, and then we will be posting this to the Iowa21cclc.com website later. It will be archived. This recording will be. So if you missed it, if you want to go back and review something, you certainly can do that. Please feel free to reach out to Cassie if you have questions about developmental relationships, Search Institute, conscious discipline, life in general. So we'll go ahead. We will go ahead and do that. And Cassie, thank you so much. She did drop her email into the chat box. And if for some reason you're unable to find that later, you can always get a hold of me, and I'll be happy to make that connection for you. So at this point, I want to thank everybody for your attendance today. Again, remind you that our next webinar will be May 26th, which is the day after our holiday. And we will be sending out the Outlook calendar invite to that very soon. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day. And we appreciate everybody's participation.
Thank you. Bye, Cassie. Bye, Crystal.
Bye-bye.
Bye.